What languages can you speak? Personally, I was born bilingual, so I speak Mongolian as my mother tongue, as well as Chinese. I'm also a fluent English speaker, and besides that, I am an intermediate learner of Korean language as well. I could do basic communication and do the simple reading and writing. So the next question is, what languages would you like to learn in the future? Well, at the moment, I don't actually have this specific language that I really want to learn. I want to work more on my Korean. I want to be an advanced speaker. But maybe in the future, I might want to learn French or Spanish, probably because they were spoken by several countries, I guess. Okay, so the next question is, how do you learn a foreign language? Well, personally for me, I think the best way for you to learn a foreign language is to learn it in a way that you learn your mother tongue. Mostly by listening, imitating, and to use it in your daily conversations. Take myself as an example. I would say I was exposed to this K-pop thing when I was in middle school, so since then I've grown a strong interest in this language. So I kept listening to Korean music and watching the K-dramas. So I guess during this process, I just learned the vocab as well as the grammar naturally, very naturally. So I do believe this is a good way of learning a foreign language. So the last question is, how are languages taught and learned in your school? I guess in China, the languages that we learn at school, like the foreign language, is mostly English. And we learn it basically from its vocabulary and the grammar. And somehow we neglect the importance of listening and speaking, which is actually one of the most important factors of a language for you to use it as a tool in your daily communication. Yeah, that's a pity. But we do learn a lot from this process as well.
What languages can you speak? Well, first of all, my mother tongue Mandarin, and obviously I am speak English. I could also speak a little bit of Korean and Japanese because I took the courses back in school. Now I'm learning some Spanish by myself. What languages would you like to learn in the future? Well, I want to learn more Spanish. I think its intonation is very interesting. And I also want to learn some French. I think it's very elegant. I'm also interested to learn some dialects in China, like Cantonese and maybe Sichuan dialect. How do you learn a foreign language? Well, I usually watch some TV shows in that language because I think it's a fun and practical way to learn it. I could get to know the pronunciation of the words and also the context in which I should use them. How are the languages taught and learned in your school? Well, back in my high school, the English lessons were not that fun. We had to read and recite lots of boring articles and vocabulary. I think that was not very effective because we could barely speak. We did so much reading and writing.
What languages can you speak? Well, currently I can only speak 2 languages, which is my mother tongue, Chinese, and English. I used to learn French and Spanish before I went to college, but that was long time ago, so I don't think I can speak those 2 anymore. What languages would you like to learn in the future? I guess I would like to continue learning those 2 languages, Spanish and French, because I picked Spanish to learn out of my interest when I was in high school, because I feel it was such a widely used language in many parts of the world. If you could speak Spanish, basically you can travel to Latin America, Spain, and many states of America freely, which is cool. And as for French, I think it's actually quite similar to Spanish. I was required to learn French back in my college because our school was located in the French-speaking area of Swiss. So, yeah, it was not hard for me. I could do daily conversation with the local, but I just haven't used them for a long time. It would be nice if I can pick them up. How do you learn a foreign language? Well, I think the techniques and the methods of learning languages are pretty much the same. You just need to get yourself involved in that environment, then you can make great progress. If not, you have to create that environment for yourself. like you try to listen to as many songs in that language and also watch some TV shows, dramas, or try to practice this language with the native speaker. But of course, first thing first, you do have to have certain vocabularies to support you to make sentences and express yourself. So I guess, yes, those are the ways I might apply to learning a new language. How are languages taught and learned in your school? Well, I think the language classes in Chinese schools are rather tedious because most of the time students can only learn it from the textbooks and teachers couldn't really use much media in class. Everything we learned is exam oriented. So basically you are not learning language for sake of using it, but learning it in order to pass your exams. So I think schools should focus more on the communication abilities of students in this language instead of the number on their exam paper.